2024. The time is 10 a.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Matari and Duncan. Commissioner Brooks is excused. Are there changes to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to have items 4 and 6 removed.
All right. And I think we'll handle them next week, likely?
Yes.
Okay. I will not be here. So if Bill is unable to call in, then we'll have to...
I'll discuss with myself.
Okay. So, public comment. All right. Item 1, Justice Center update from Turner, Townsend, Heery. Mr. Mendez, please.
Good morning. David Mendez with Turner and Townsend, Heery, for the record. I've given you an updated handout. It's updated costs. I've not sent that to have the what we've paid in updated. So this is a little different. I've highlighted in yellow the items that are still rough order of magnitude items, but I wanted to put them into the total so you can see where we're heading with the contingency. So the first item that's in yellow is DC 0.9. That's design contingency number 9. Roof anchors for fall protection. This number's been a bit of a yo-yo because of we were trying to determine scope on that, and what that is anchor points on top of the roof of the building so that they can scaffold down and clean windows in the future. We started at 30,000 is what we thought we were going to run into. We ran that through the engineer. They came up with a scheme that would fit the OSHA requirements. It ran it up to $75,000. So we've gone back and tried to take a more realistic approach. You currently use lifts to wash the windows of the existing facility. We thought, why are we putting in these drops to do a different methodology when we can just at the same time use the same lifts? So we've reduced, it was 31 points of connection, which in my world, that's 31 holes in your roof. Mm-hmm. So we're down to 6 of them. Mm-hmm. So the number will come way, way down. But I've got to get the pricing on that before I can commit to it. So that's where we've gone with that one.
So is the $75,000 for 31
That's
anchors?
31 connections. And
okay.
That's a very large amount of connections in your roof. So CCD 6 is the next item. That's the final permit set. I have the scope of work. They're pricing it out, so I don't have final numbers on that yet, but it's not, it will be below 20,000. The next item we've talked about, the point patch of exterior concrete. That's to make a membrane stick to those 2 concrete towers on the exterior skin. I don't have final numbers on that yet. CCD 7, which would be continuing on with the development of plans through the RFI and shop drawing process. That's the contractor's telling me they really haven't had anything yet, so I've plugged in a $20,000 figure. The next item is a real item. It has to be worked out with the engineer, and that is there's a conflict in the specs that the mechanical contractor did not price a plenum style curbing, so that's where your ductwork ties into the mechanical units on the roof. These can just be a framed style of connection or curb, but this one requires that it has ductwork included with it. So they're looking at that as an increase. The last item in the design contingency is Leslie, you've been involved with this a little bit. The judge's office that has the windows that are to be removed and backfilled. We've looked at another alternative, and that's to just leave a clear story window, so just the high window that's in there currently, changing that to a rated window. And so we're looking for pricing on that.
So is that for both that secretary office and this office?
Yes, so there's the long window on the end and then a smaller window. And those would be just keeping the high windows to maintain natural light. The small office that you're referring to would have no windows.
Okay.
So that's going to leave some daylighting in there.
Right.
They're staring at a wall,
Right.
so the window isn't really all that useful. But
Yeah. Well, and I've been talking to to Carlene, and the judge that sits in that office in that corner was very concerned about the natural light. So we just brought it up that we could, different than what we looked at before, was just actually replacing that one window in the secretary's office with a fireproof. We were looking at just, I don't know if you've seen the windows, they're tall, then they have a square on top. So we're looking at those squares, keeping those squares daylight
yeah,
only.
it's
but
two
not-
sets of windows, a full height window, and then a small upper window.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were just going to look into that, and then I would go back to Carlene and say, is this really something that has to be done, or can we get away with not doing it? So that's kind of where that came back around. It's a little bit different than just the one secretary's office.
This window is over facing the sun, so it could get real hot and stuff like that. I mean, those things tend to be sometimes more of a pain, depending on the weather.
Yeah, it's heat gain from
Yeah.
it would be an afternoon sun shining in through that window. I've been told that the existing HVAC system doesn't maintain or compensate for all that glass very well as it is. So,
Yeah. Okay.
so reducing that amount will help that conditioned space to condition. So.
Okay.
Then the only new item, well, it's not a new item, but it's something that's not finalized on pricing, is down under construction contingency. That's number C.7. They've come up with a cheaper alternative for, so we're going to have, at the end of summer, we're going to have that roof in place. They need to put a temporary drain in that so we don't get leakage throughout the newly constructed building. And they've looked at a cheaper alternative than putting in a temporary drain. So it's just adding another section to it, so it'll boost it up for the final elevation of the roof. So, so that's going to be something less than the $15,000.
I have a question going back to that window.
Okay.
I've found that in a lot of commercial buildings, sometimes the HVAC, it's very hard to get it consistent throughout the building. Do windows play a role in that?
Absolutely plays a role in the calculations that they have for both lighting and for conditioning the space, so heating and cooling.
So if we do
Windows
have
are terrible.
Yeah, so if we do have a window in there, that would require us to do some new calculations?
No. So what we're doing is we're eliminating the two large windows for those two rooms, and we're just leaving the upper window in place.
Okay.
So,
These are-
and because that has to be fire rated, that means removing that entire that window and replacing it with a higher grade window. So there is additional cost in doing that.
Yeah.
Which Greg said the windows have to be replaced in that building anyway.
He informed me that's a process that the windows that aren't being touched on the south side of that office, those will be replaced in a few years.
Yeah. So even if, this wasn't happening, we end up replacing those windows as well.
Would.
Yep. Okay.
So I guess the last thing I draw your attention to is, so the subtotal of the design contingency that we will use, including the yellowed items, is $197,697, leaving us $684,000 in that contingency. In the bottom contingency for construction, that leaves us $615,000 in that contingency. And that's all I have for you today.
All right. Questions?
No questions. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you. I like this. I like this layout.
Better? Okay. I'll stick with that then.
Thank you. All right. Item 2, proposed driver's license move. So in part of budget process and with the sheriffs moving out to the KC North, the facilities working group had several conversations on what to do with that admin building. We looked at putting community development there. We looked at putting elections there. We looked at putting 911 there. All these different items that were brought up. And then what the latest proposal and has support from the working group is to move driver's license to the admin building once sheriff's admin moves to Casey North. So much like fleet management gave us a letter for those cars, there was a letter proposed to go alongside with the sheriff's budget request stating that, this idea has gone through.
Well, all fleet management did was just find two homes for those 8 cars that were being decommissioned.
All I'm saying is the process of having the letter of support for this particular move.
One of the things that I would really appreciate, last time I asked about the working facilities group, you said that, I said, when are we going to meet with them as a board? And you said in the next few weeks, and that was in March of last year.
March of last year or March of this year?
March of last year. That's when I asked. We have not had a facilities, meeting with the board since I've been a commissioner. And while I appreciate all this work everyone is doing behind the scenes, it would really be nice to have some sort of regular updates before the board that talks about this stuff so we can ask these questions. One of the concerns I have is that things are going to get presented to us and they're going to say, well, everyone's worked on this, so here, take it or leave it. And make a decision now because there's not much time. And I've noticed that as, my time as a commissioner. And I don't think that is how we're supposed to operate. We're supposed to be a little more deliberative and a little less, time sensitive for larger issues. And my experience with moving people around is you got to get it right, and you're always better off going slower than you think you need to go. Mm-hmm. Because you're incurring expense, you're shuffling people around. It's a big logistical endeavor. And, I even wonder, well, what's going to happen with the prosecutor's office, once they move out. We're looking at paying a couple $100,000 a year until we get something from the state for the public defender. Would that not be a good place for them?
It would not.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to at least have that discussion.
Yeah,
and we can talk about that.
The judges do not want public defense in the courthouse. And so there's a bunch of different things that we have to look at in order to move them. Having the security and having the clients of the public defenders moving through that, and Ann can speak to this better than I can. Yeah. Going through the section, what do you call it? The security station. And so, we had looked at that years ago about what our options were. And that just definitely was an option. But that's not a problem. Do you want everybody on the board to meet, or just a spokesperson?
Well, somebody should be presenting to the board, what is going on, what we're thinking of doing. I mean, I appreciate you doing this for us, but with you being constantly involved, I feel like we're having a redo of the Justice Center. And this is why I so much appreciate David Mendez being the buyer's rep here, because he comes before all of us and gives us this information. Mm-hmm. It's not filtered. It comes before us. And one of the nice things, and we just saw it this morning, is how he understands this so well. He knows what questions to ask. And in this particular situation, we're looking at reducing a large number of points on the roof down to 6 because of other processes with other buildings in the county. And I'm not so sure as many people would be thinking about asking those types of questions that could save us money. And it's from his experience. So the idea of having someone come before the board as opposed to a board member giving an update, I think is a much more appropriate way for us to get information.
Okay. Do you read the minutes from that group?
I don't read the minutes because I don't have the benefit of being able to ask questions when things are happening. And like I said, a year ago in March, You said it would be a few weeks, and I'd be happy to pull the video up. And then if you can find a meeting that the board sat in front of the facilities working group.
The facilities working group hasn't come forward.
Okay, so, that's my point is, I kind of asked for it and it never really happened. And I'd love to have that opportunity where we could actually talk, maybe look at, some schematics, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation. Here's what we're looking at doing so that we can understand it. I looked at the documents that someone hired a consultant for with their recommendations of moves. But I've not heard another word from anyone about how that fits in with what the facilities group is doing.
The 2019 document?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm open to all the ideas.
All right. Is that all on that one?
Yeah, that's all for me.
All right. Item 3, additional space request for Treasurer's Office. I was thinking that a Treasurer representative would be here. They do the, it's where they take possession of assets because a person has passed away and there's no one to take care of their estate. And there's an official name for it, but I'm not pulling it up right now. So there's space behind the deputy station on the second floor, and they would like to use that particular space.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I think it's for probate situations that they're not in, so.
All right, then I will get with them and let them know there's no cost involved. It's just a matter of gaining access to that area.
Sure.
All right, and item 5, buyer's representative for jail pods.
Well, this was where, I thought it would be prudent to, again, if David Mendez has the, you're coming back here, if David Mendez has the bandwidth to help the sheriff's office in, getting the jail pod expansion project in the right direction. And the way I anticipate this is that in the beginning, just like with the Justice Center, in this particular case, it's water under the bridge, but, when David mentioned that, hey, if you move that elevator just 7 feet, you could have saved $50,000. And that was the cheapest time. Obviously, we can't do that now. And so having him in the beginning, looking at these plans, making sure that they are designed in such a way for efficient and cost-effective construction, I think is money well spent. I think trying to do that internally where people don't know the questions that they need to be asking will be to the county's detriment. And so the way I kind of envision it is that in the beginning, David will spend more time, and internally we'll have less time. And as it goes, David's time will be going down because the project is more and more cured in its direction. We know what we're going to do, and we can have an internal person oversee the final steps.
Did you work up a cost proposal for us? We talked about that.
I did not look that up. I've been talking with the design, the architect. I have not talked to the contractor, but I've got their schedule, what they're meeting every 2 weeks, and what their deliverables are when they're coming up with the design. My thought in talking with them that I would be included with their meetings, do some legwork before the meeting so that I see where they're heading and then give input, but be part of those meetings early on, and then when they go to construction, be involved in that buyout process so that we make sure that we're getting good numbers, similar to what we did here.
Okay. Yep, just need an addendum, right? I mean, you can't just go working on it without.
Right. So the plan would be that I would give you a proposal for the hours that I see it taking, and then work from there. Similar to how I'm working currently on the Justice Center project.
And then does that include the generator out at the jail? Because I think that Tom had requested some help from you as well on that project.
Yeah, I hadn't talked to anybody about the generator. So,
okay.
But yeah, that certainly could be part of it.
Okay, yeah, because I think Tom would like some guidance on that project.
Yeah, those are really long lead items. So if it's new or expanding on an existing, that's something to really talk about what the timing would be on that. We had a 16-month delivery on one recently, so
Wow.
they're really long lead.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to jump ahead. I didn't see the agenda. Are we going to talk about the change order for $39,000 at this meeting, or is that a different meeting?
Change order for what?
It's the 2:00. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll go forward with that and public comment. Okay. 10:20, meeting adjourned. Thank you.